I want to share something which I've realized recently, which I find very fascinating in my personal life with application in GMAT as well. I realized that when my currently 6 year old son, when he does something which I don't agree with, and when my wife does something which I don't agree with, I have very different reactions. When my son does something, I'm like, all right, I'm very patient and I try to explain, I try to understand, I try to help my son improve, get better. Not every time, but when my wife does something I don't agree with, at times I'll get angry. We have arguments, right? I'll be like, man, what you did was wrong. So then I got to thinking, how come I'm reacting differently? The initial thought was, no, no, no. The action was much more serious that my wife took. The action my son took didn't really have that much consequence. That's why I thought, was it really a matter of consequence? I thought more, no. There were instances in which the actions my wife took also weren't that big, they were pretty trivial. So it wasn't about the impact of those actions or the negative impact potentially those actions could have. Then why was I having different reactions? The more I thought about it, I think it became clearer that in the case of my son, I still see my son as somebody who's learning and growing and who needs to still learn a lot more. They're on their journey. And so when he makes a mistake, my thinking is, all right, this is a deficiency. This is something which my son doesn't currently have that I need to help him develop. Versus when my wife does something, perhaps my internal thinking is, that's wrong, that's a mistake. She should know better. So my initial outlook towards the two actions is very different. In one case, oh, it's a deficiency, that's something that needs to be improved. In the other case, it's a mistake, it's a problem, it's something wrong. So I realized in one case, I was not judging the person because of the action, but in the other case, in my wife's case, I ended up judging my wife. And that's why my reactions were so much more intense. Now, when it comes to GMAT, when you are doing practice, when you're going through your whole GMAT journey, whether practicing questions or going through a concept or anything else, and you falter at any stage or at any point, how do you see it? Do you see it as, oh, all right, this is something that needs to be improved, a current deficiency, but if I work towards it, I can get better? Or do you see it as a mistake, as a problem, as something wrong? I believe this difference or these two different mindsets can significantly change your whole trajectory of your preparation. If you're looking at every mistake as a problem, as something wrong, essentially you are judging yourself. You're blaming yourself for that mistake. And therefore, the environment you're creating for yourself is not conducive to learning. Because now you've created a negative relationship with yourself. Versus if you make a mistake and your thinking is, all right, this is something that you're not currently good at, you need to work on it to improve. No problem, go ahead, take your time, work on it, improve. You've done some content on this in the past, even then you haven't improved. Okay, somewhat surprising, but still, it doesn't mean that you are wrong. It just means that perhaps you need to put in more work. Maybe you need to look at some other resource to figure out what you need to fix. So it's still a matter of, how do I improve from here versus problem, mistake, wrong.